for that reading. I do want to acknowledge first a wrestler amidst us, and that being Hayden, who wrestled in the New England tournament this past weekend, and as Coach Bunce this morning mentioned, took what quite possibly could have been the hardest path in that tournament. He lost his first match and had the resiliency and the grit and the commitment to battle back and win and win and win and fight and wrestle. And Hayden ended up being the fourth best heavyweight in New England, and by doing so earned himself the opportunity to wrestle on the national level, the national spotlight at Lehigh this upcoming weekend. So congratulations, Hayden. I want to talk about wrestling and struggle and messiness today. And I want this to be about us, because it is about us. First, I want to start by acknowledging Mr. Hall. I thank you for your leadership, for creating the space for us. For me, it has made a difference, and it's been impactful. And thank you, boys and faculty, for being here. Thank you for being present. I want to acknowledge first that February has been a doozy. It's tough. It's been a really hard month. It's been cold, dark, and we are tired. And the grind, as Ms. Mulrooney says, is real. It's viable. We work hard. Sunlight is virtually non-existent, although today we get a glimpse. And energy levels are low, and I see that. And I feel that myself as well. However, if we're being honest with one another, there's more to it than that. From my perspective, I see, and I know you do too, that some of us are struggling. Julian and Wooman and Peter kind of courageously got up here and shared their struggles with us. And I thank them for sharing their messiness and trusting us with their messiness. Some of our community members are having a hard time now. We're having a hard time getting out of bed, getting work done. We're wrestling with pressures or disappointments. We're retreating and losing ourselves in our iPhones. We're struggling. We are working through messiness. Some of our brothers even recently, many of them unfortunately, lost their opportunity to be here. And it is an opportunity and privilege. So February has indeed been messy, and it has impacted our school, and it's impacted us, and it's impacted me. And I know it has impacted you boys. You care about one another, and I wonder what it feels like to watch one of your brothers struggle. What is that like? It must be hard. It's hard for us too. It's hard for me. What I'd like to do is reframe this. I want to reframe the messiness, and perhaps offer a different perspective on our shared struggles, individual or otherwise. I'm going to break it down. Axiom number 1. Messiness is inevitable. Like Jacob wrestled with our God, we all experience struggles throughout our lives. Struggle is surely a common, shared human experience that really brings us all together, or could potentially bring us all. That mess, however, is neither good nor bad. It simply is. Without a tough paddle out through pounding waves and surf, it would not be possible to catch a great ride. Number 2, and this is what I want to focus on today with you. Messiness provides many opportunities when we frame it as so. The messiness of our lives provides opportunity when we frame it as so. Struggle gives us an excuse to show one another love. It seems to be in our nature to reach out to those in need. I see it all the time. I feel it all the time. When a roommate is struggling, aren't we drawn to reach out? When a student comes back from a suspension, aren't we happy and excited to welcome them back? And in this sacred space right here, aren't we asked to think about and pray for those who are struggling? Life's messiness does indeed provide opportunities for us to show love for one another. Through the darkness, that may be the light. And this is what I want to explore with you together. How can we love one another through messiness? Last year was messy for me, and it still is. Shortly after I arrived at the hilltop, my then wife left and took our 2 daughters, Emily and Maggie, with her. That was November 9th. Shortly thereafter, chaos and sadness and anger and uncertainty in a very public way for me and my family ensued. However, through the darkness, light eventually emerged. To be very clear, I was rescued from the pounding surf by the love and support of friends, family, colleagues, many of whom are in this chapel today. And for that love, I'm eternally grateful. Feeling loved, I reframed my messiness and eventually began to rebuild and reimagine a new life. And it was messy. Divorce is messy, some of you know that. Splitting up a family is messy. However, like Kevin Pierce, I accepted that which had happened and began to create and think about what's possible. And through the mess, I was loved. And that made all the difference. Here's how some of you in this chapel love me. Ronan, I hope you're here somewhere. Ronan was with me that night, just being with me, sitting with me as my life changed. And he sat with me, and he was there. So Ronan and Crispy loved me simply by being there. Chiz loved me with a hug. The following day, I stopped in Chiz's office, and I received a hug I will never forget. And as my world was crashing, in that moment, I felt like everything was going to be all right. Thank you, Chiz. Barbados. Mr. Barbado got a little chirp the other day. I'm going to throw him some love right now. The Barbados, who at the time were neighbors, took the love thy neighbor notion very seriously. And I never felt alone. They checked on me constantly. Mr. Barbado even chased a bear out of my garage one day. Which that would be a story for another time. Kate and Beth loved me by listening and laughing. Douglas, Rita, and Jeff loved me by extending an open hand for many, many invitations for me and my daughters. And you boys, through my messiness last year, the ability and privilege and honor to be with you and to work with you on a daily basis, to feel and be part of your energy and your spirit and your messiness truly lifted me last year. So I want to thank you, Salisbury, for loving me through my messiness. My struggles provided opportunities for you to love me, and I'm so very grateful that you did. Some mindsets, however, make it hard for us to love one another. And so here's my perspective, just my perspective. When a brother struggles, how do we respond? Is it he is a bad kid? Or he doesn't belong here? Or hey, I don't like him anyway? Or he was wrong, and I know that because I'm right. This judging mindset certainly makes it difficult to perform love. So why do we judge others? What's that all about? What can be gained by letting go of those judgments? Can our relationships and the love that we perform benefit from restraining judgment? I think so. One of my favorite things to do with you boys, particularly lately, is to check in and hear what's going on in your lives. It helps me get a feel for what's happening. And I've noticed lately that we sometimes do react with judgment when a brother is struggling. And I think that's natural, and I do too. Judge. I want to challenge that, though. I think there's another way. And I want to challenge that because I think by judging others, we limit our capacity to love one another. You know, in the world of mathematics, there's a statement called tautology. It says, if A or not A. And it's always true. It's true since A or not A kind of embodies all. It encompasses all. For example, a number is prime or it's not prime. An infinite series converges or it doesn't converge. This is generally accepted in math most of the time. However, this sort of thinking doesn't at all transfer to humanity. Unlike the mathematics that I often think about, messiness or humanity cannot be neatly organized, categorized, labeled, or known. When we label or force human beings or human experiences into one of two buckets, we drastically underestimate our complexity. I believe this is called dichotomous thinking. Things are good or bad, He is right or wrong. I am right or wrong. I have succeeded or failed. Is there really a right or wrong? Or do we just have different perspectives? Did my marriage fail? Or was it part of who I am? So I wonder how might our capacity to love one another improve if we let go of knowing what is good or bad, what is right or wrong, and listen without judgment to different perspectives. So give it a try. Lean into the gray areas. I wonder what can be gained by doing so. During my messy year, I heard from many well-intentioned friends and families whom I loved, and they loved me. A quote that kind of sticks with me, and I want to challenge it a little bit. It was, "Why do bad things sometimes happen to good people?" I'm sure you've heard that. I really wonder what that means. Am I a good person? Like, what qualifies me as a good person? How do I earn that title? Or am I a bad person? And what does it mean to be a bad thing? Don't we have the capacity and ability to frame events as we see fit? And furthermore, do things just happen to us? Or do we create conditions for events to occur in our lives? Sounds altogether kind of judgy and well, too simple. So I like better the question, how can we love one another or find opportunity for messiness? So I want you to reconsider that question. And I want you to reconsider the opportunities we have here during the dark winter months to do just that. How can we love one another or find opportunities through our messiness? I also want to consider what some of you have stated in conversations. Things like, he's a great roommate, or he let me down, or he's not a good friend, or he's not a great roommate. I wonder what opportunities exist here, and I want to challenge that kind of thinking too, just my perspective. Think for a moment, if you will, of an ideal friend. Try to picture an ideal friend or brother or roommate or father or teacher or student or spouse. Why do we do that? Why do we have a tendency to idealize people, put them on a pedestal? What happens when they don't reach our expectations that we have of them? How does that impact our capacity to love? How does that impact our relationships? Because I don't think there really is an ideal Sarah and brother. I don't think there's an ideal teacher, nor is there an ideal father or student. I think we all just work through our messiness together. And through these messiness moments, we can create relationships and love. And furthermore, love is not just a feeling. It's not a static object that we put in our hearts and we call it a day. It doesn't just appear. We build love with others. Mrs. Finney asked us last week to consider what love is or what love isn't. And many of you refer to actions. These are performances of love. These are not performances of love. Love is something we do with one another. It's something we perform. So, when our brothers are struggling, young or old, or sisters, let's show them we care. It doesn't really matter how. Messiness indeed does present opportunities to love one another. To conclude, I want to recall a moment I'll always remember. I had a handful of court dates last year, and they weren't fun. They were messy. And I will always remember one cold New York morning, and I was in upstate New York about to go into court. My father and brother were with me, and at the moment I was wearing a Salisbury tie, and I asked the night before, I was talking with Mr. Barbado, and he said, "Why don't you wear my tie to court tomorrow?" And I wore it. And I looked in the mirror, I adjusted my Salisbury tie, and I don't know what was going on, and I was nervous and scared and afraid, and I adjusted my Salisbury tie, and I began to sing a song that lifted me last year, and still does. And I sing this song to my girls at night when I tuck them in. And you have sung this song in Beelan, at hockey games. And you were with me, Salisbury. You were with me, not only in that New York court date moment, but you've been with me the whole time. And so I ask you to consider these words. I got my mind made up. My My heart is fixed. Love's going to take me all the way. Love's gonna take me all the way. I got my mind made up. My heart is fixed. Love's gonna take me all the way. I got my mind made up. My heart is fixed. Love's gonna take me all the way. I got my mind made up. My heart is fixed. Love's gonna take me all the way. I got my mind made up. My heart is fixed. Love's gonna take me all the way. Thank you. I love you guys.